look at box plots and 5-number summaries. Let's start with the warm-up. Define the following terms. So we looked at these in the previous lesson. Q1 means the first quartile or quartile 1. And it is the middle of the first half of data. The median means the middle, so it's the middle of the data. If there are two terms in the middle, you average them. You add them up and divide by 2. You might see the median written as Q2 as well. And Q3 is the middle of your second half of data. So again, Q1, middle of the first half, Q2 is the median, middle, and Q3 is the middle of your last half of data. So let's do an example using the following two students. We have Ahmed and Bree, and we have their test scores, test percentages from last semester. So take a look at these test scores and think, what do you notice about the test scores, and what do you wonder? And after you do that, we're going to figure out the 5-number summaries for each of the students. Let's start with Ahmed, and we can see what the min and max is. Let's look for the median. And my workspace quit on me, so let me do that again. Okay, so the median is the middle, and I think it's helpful to cross off from the ends to find the middle. So for Ahmed, we would cross off his low and his high, and so on, until we got in the middle. And here it happens that there's 2 in the middle, so we are going to average those. So to average, to find the middle of 75 and 83, we add them up, 75 plus 83, and we're going to divide by 2. So I did that already. 75 plus 83 divided by 2 is 79. So 79 is Q2, or the median. To find Q1, let's look at the first half of data. So look at everything below the median and find the middle. So again, we cross off. What's the middle of 74 and 75? Well, it's 74.5. If you didn't know that, you could add them up and divide by 2. So this will be 74.5. That's your Q1. To find Q3, we look at the second half of data. So here's the middle. We're going to look at everything above that. What's the middle of 90 and 94? Again, if you don't know, you add them up and divide by 2. The middle of 90 and 94 is 92. So this will be 92. And then we know the min, 70, the max is 100. So here's Ahmed's 5-number summary. 70, 74.5, 79, 92, and 100. Okay, let's do the same thing for Bree's. We cross off until we find the middle. And again, there's 2 numbers in the middle. So what's the middle of 73 and 81? Well, if you don't know, you add them up and divide by 2. And when I did that, I got 77. So 77 is the median. To find Q1, look at the middle of the first half of data. Cross off till you find the middle. What's the middle of 71 and 71? It's 71. And again, if you didn't know, you could add them up and divide by 2. So this is 71. Let's find the middle of the second half of data. What's in between 83 and 84? You could average them, but I know that's 83.5. So Bree's 5-number summary is 70 is her min, 71 is Q1, 77 is median, 83.5 is Q3, and 96 is her max. All right, let's see what these look like if they're graphed as a box and whiskers plot on the same axes. And so again, we are looking at their 5-number summaries, and I made some mistakes here, like the lines aren't drawn right. So this is 70, 71, 2, 3, 4. This should be 75, 76, 77, 80, 1, 2, 8, 3, 84. This should be 85, and this should be 1, 2, 3, 4. This should be 95. Okay, so now it's right. And if we take a look at the 5-number summary, let's do Ahmed's first in black. We have 70 is the min. So let's put a dot at the min. Q1 is 74.5, so I'm going to find 74.5 and put a line. 1, 2, 3, 4.5. And then his median was 79, so I'm going to find 79. And then his Q3 was 92, so 92 is right here. And then his max was 100. Okay, so let's draw. You draw a line for each of the quartiles and then connect them into a box, and then connect the box to the whiskers. So it should look something like this. So here's Ahmed's. Let's take a look at Bree's. And so for Bree, use pink, her minimum was 70, same as Ahmed's, but her Q1 was 71. Her median was 77. Her median was 83.5. And her max was 96. So again, we're going to connect these. Okay, so let's take a look at what this means. It's separated into quartiles or 4 quarters. So here's Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. Basically the 4 quartiles here. And it tells you...
Grace Litweiler, please come to the student office.
It tells you how many scores are in each. So you can see that for Ahmed, he had a bunch of scores that were pretty close right here if we look in Q1. So you can see that right here in his Q1, there's a bunch of scores that were close, but then they're more spread out right here. They spread out from 83 to 100. And that's reflected in this bigger box. So here the scores are more spread out in this quartile than they are right here. And Bree's are more spread out right here from the max. From Q3 to the max, they're more spread out. And you can see she scored more, below her Q3 right here. So let's put this more into context, solve some more problems here. And again, my numbers are a little bit off here, but it says the following box plot represents the test scores of 30 students in Mrs. Bajan's class. What percent scored below 80 and 83? Below the third quartile. So again, my numbers are a little bit off. My scale was off, but here's 83. What percent scored below? And this is a quarter. A quarter of the class, and a quarter is 25% of the class scored below the first quartile right here. Remember, these are quarters. Think 4 quarters in $1. And so below this is 25%. Now when it says how many scored between 80 and 83, we want 25% of 30. And we talked about how of means times, and percent is out of 100. So we have 0.25 or 25 out of 100, which is 0.25. Let's use that. So 0.25, and we're going to multiply by 30. And so when we do that, we'll get how many students scored between 80 and 83, and I got 7.5. So I didn't pick my numbers very well. You can't really have 0.5 of a person, but this is what we get. What percent scored between 80 and 92? So here's 80, and 92 is supposed to be right here, but looks like 91. So we'll say 91, below the third quartile. So again, this would be like 3 quarters of $1, right? So 3 quarters is 75% of the students scored between or below the third quartile. So 75%. How many? Let's change our percent to a decimal, 0.75 times 30. It should be more than 25% of 30, and it is. So about 22.5 students scored below the third quartile. What percent scored above the median? So if we look at the median, so here's our median in the middle. And again, if these are in quarters, we can see that 50% scored above the median. So how many scored above the median? So that would be 50% or 0.5 of 30. Of means times, and we know half of 30 is 15. So 15 students scored above the median. The last thing that we're going to look at is the draft box plots for the 12 months, and I don't have a PDF of that, but we'll look at it in class. And looking at all the 12 box plots and the shape of the graphs, like we did for looking at these different shapes right here. The question is, would you say the draft was fair? Explain why or why not. And number 2, can you find 3 months that had a higher likelihood of being drafted? How do you know by looking at the box plots? And so we'll do this in class. If you still have questions, you can come to class and let me know.